Multilac, Colour the World Sri Lankan.
I'm delighted to address you this afternoon at the General Convocation of the General Sir John Kuthalawala Defence University. I congratulate all students graduating at this event on their hard work during their studies and wish them all success in their future careers. The General Sir John Kuthalawala University is a unique institution in Sri Lanka. Initially established to provide further training to officers in the Sri Lanka military, the KDU now offers many tertiary educational qualifications to civilians as well as armed forces personnel. It also attracts students from overseas for several degree programs. Today, the General Sir John Kuthalawala Defence University is reputed as one of Sri Lanka's finest tertiary educational institutions, producing graduates who are extremely competent in their chosen disciplines. The KDU's graduates are renowned for their leadership skills, teamwork skills, integrity, and patriotism, and are in high demand amongst employers. As those involved in this institution can attest, developing the KDU to become an institution of this stature was not without its challenges. Even today, there are objections raised against the KDU by certain groups. These groups want to undo the good work that has been done here over the years, which has already benefited thousands of Sri Lankan students. I do not understand this attitude, which has held back Sri Lanka's education system for decades. It is no secret that our country's education system has not kept pace with the requirements of today's world. There is a mismatch between the education generally offered in Sri Lanka and what is necessary for our country to develop the 21st century. This is why I have constantly called for educational reforms, especially in our tertiary education system. I strongly believe that no matter the degree program followed by university students, they must all graduate having gained at least some proficiency in information technology at least. At minimum, they should have had the opportunity to gain some experience in working with computers. They should also receive exposure to other skills necessary for success in today's world, including critical thinking, entrepreneurship, and English language skills. I am pleased to note that several of these reforms have already been implemented by our universities, and that more are to be introduced next year. I hope that these reforms will equip our university students with the skills and aptitudes they need in order to be productive citizens after they graduate. An even larger problem concerning Sri Lanka's education system, however, is its extreme capacity constraints. One of the early accomplishments of my administration was increasing the number of places for students in universities throughout Sri Lanka by 10,000. Even with this increase, however, there will still be thousands of students who cannot access university education in Sri Lanka despite passing their advanced level examination. This is because there just isn't enough capacity within the state university system to accommodate all qualifying students. The consequences of this lack of university places are much wider than most people realize. It has led to a constant narrowing of opportunities throughout the entire education system. It has almost resulted in the system being designed with more intent to fail students than to help them succeed. We see this in the large numbers who sit for their level examinations but do not qualify to study at the advanced level. We see this in the large numbers who travel abroad each year to obtain their university education in other countries. Not only do the parents of these students incur a high cost by doing so, but the country loses valuable foreign exchange. And most worryingly, it is deprived of many outstanding young people who will most likely to continue to live abroad instead of returning to Sri Lanka after graduation. Students who have less affluent parents end up following various other courses which may be taught in Sri Lanka, but nevertheless do not provide the holistic education that universities do. The majority simply drop out of further education altogether and end up taking whatever low-paying jobs that can find. Worst of all, because of the high esteem in which university education is held in our country, these students may feel like failures for years to come, if not for the rest of their lives. Continuing with this cruel status quo is simply unacceptable. We need to create more opportunities for our young people to study at universities in Sri Lanka. There is absolutely no reason why these universities should not be state universities. Almost all the best universities in the world are not state universities. Most are structured as independent, self-governing entities, charitable institutions, or non-profit organizations focused on education. There is absolutely no reason why such institutions cannot be established in Sri Lanka. If the legal framework needs to be changed to make this possible, that can be done. If traditional attitudes are preventing such institutions from being established, those must be strongly challenged. The old objections about higher education institutions outside the state universities being education shops that sell degrees is nonsensical. We need to think beyond this tired or old rhetoric from a past era, which is being cynical, used to limit opportunities for our young people. If we do not do this now, many more generations of students will needlessly suffer because of these parochial attitudes. I'm not prepared to let this happen. The fact that students may pay for their studies at universities established outside the public sector does not mean that those institutions sell degrees. Objecting to the establishment of universities outside the public sector on such flimsy grounds is not just tragic, it is a crime. It should be the role of the University Grant Commission to regulate and maintain the standard of all universities, irrespective of whether they are state-funded or self-funded. Furthermore, if any university that charges a fee does not maintain its quality, it will die an organic death in time anyway. Students will not attend universities unlikely to give them opportunities in the job market after graduation. As attendance dropped off, any university that does not maintain its standards will cease to operate. If anything, allowing the establishment of more universities in Sri Lanka will create more competition among such institutions for students at all levels, as well as for lecturers and professors. Those who object vehemently to the establishment of more universities in Sri Lanka lack confidence in their ability to succeed such a competitive environment. The sooner their objections are overcome and these new opportunities are created, the better off our students and our country shall be. If we have a diverse and competitive tertiary education system in Sri Lanka that goes beyond what is currently provided by state universities, it might even encourage students who can afford to study abroad or those who win scholarships to universities in other countries to remain here. Establishing a freer environment for tertiary education in the country could also attract world-class regional higher educational institutions into Sri Lanka, further enhancing the quality of education on offer here. This will also help Sri Lanka attract students from regional countries including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and even from countries further away. In time, this will transform higher education in Sri Lanka into viable foreign exchange revenue generator for the economy. It is unfortunate that Sri Lanka is already decades behind other countries in allowing this to happen. However, it is still not too late to make this change. This broad change in its higher education structure is exactly what Sri Lanka needs if it is to develop rapidly and become a prosperous nation in the future. We must create new opportunities for our best and brightest without limiting ourselves to the status quo because of past practices, traditions, or outdated laws and regulations. I hope that all of you present here today will understand this reality and do your best to support this change in time to come. Let us all work together to build a better tomorrow for our country and for our future generations. Thank you.
The News Reporter. වාරණයෙන් තොර අපක්ෂපාතී වාර්තාකරණය.
Multilac, colour the world Sri Lankan.